friends have been going through. One of my fellow podcaster, the podcasting godmother, T Drake. Check out her channel, God's Gift Through His Word. Also check out the Walk of Truth Radio Network YouTube channel, Facebook channel, and also we're on podcast. Just computer search in the search bar, Walk of Truth Radio Network. Today I want to talk about. Before I talk about today, what I'm going to talk about, let's talk about tonight, midnight. Witchcraft in the church again tonight. Look for us midnight. Uh, we're gonna talk about witchcraft in the church. Me and T Drake. So, but today I'm gonna talk something the good, the bad, and the ugly in review. And I actually had something else I want to talk about, but this is so prevalent and it keeps coming up. Um, you know how two people come together, make a child, and at that point they have to make a decision. And I'm talking about unmarried. And what I'm finding out that I didn't think was very prevalent in the community that I live in is that we have a lot of children who don't know their father. Now, again, before you ladies have a conniption, there are some men out here who do not take care of their children, and they should. I believe in child support. Okay? I believe in it. I endorse it. And I think it's sad when a woman gets together with, when a man gets together, or no, when a woman accepts a man who doesn't pay his child support and falls for the okey doke and then have a child by him, thinking that he's going to be different with her than he was with the other woman, and come to find out she in the same boat down the line. But I digress. So women, yes, I'm on your side with that, okay? But this is what I'm talking about. There's a group of women out here in our community who give their children these last names that don't lead them nowhere, covering up how promiscuous they have been. Okay? You don't give them the father's name. I hear it. I want all my baby. When you started having these children, your goal wasn't to have multiple children by multiple men and give them all your name, or give them a name of your old married name that leads them nowhere. And then these children grow up wanting to know who their father is. That's the first mistake, because you're trying to cover up your promiscuity. Okay? You ain't doing it for them. You're doing it for selfish reasons. And I don't care what their father is. I don't care what their father's done. They need to know. And yes, and if you don't give them the name, at least set a time in your heart that you're going to tell them the truth, because that impacts them down the line. And we know medically and socially what's in the name? Everything. Everything. They come to find out that the father who they thought the father can't give them a kidney, or their blood matches, and they find out that the father they thought they was their father all their life was not their father. And now you got to explain. And remember, they always say it's not the crime that's the problem, it's the cover up. Because you've been covering up all these years, but now it hit the fan, and now you are forced into telling something, and now you have to make up a story to continue the narrative that you were such a great person. So you go on with that. But let me get back to this. So imagine you asking your mom all your life, you've been told at 12 that the man that she married is not your father, and you've been asking her who he is. She gives you a name, but gives you a scenario that's not true. And as life goes on, you go from 12 to 40, wondering who this man is. The man she married didn't tell you. It wouldn't help you, and told you a story that didn't match the story your mom told you, and then told the man whom you married, said, "Don't tell your mom I told you this," because now you're confused, because both of their stories don't match on who your father is, and the grandmother won't tell you who the father is. So now there's this big conspiracy about who your dad is. You would think that with that kind of conspiracy going on, your dad must be Satan or somebody. You must be the spawn of Satan. But you're just trying to cover up your freaky deaky self. You trying to cover up that you, what, as they say where I'm from, you doing it out of both legs. You'd already had an abortion, but now with this child, you won't tell them. And then in their life, they are been, since the time they've known it, they've been treated different from the other siblings because that father had more children by the mother and is the wife, and you are the half sister. You kind of look alike, but you don't look alike because that's not your father. So you're searching for your father all these years, and you can't get any answers from the mother that laid with him. Why? Cover up. Why? You're hiding who you really are. And so, there's other scenarios that I'm gonna go into that has been like that, where these children don't know who their father is. My grandfather said a chap should know who their father is. My father is a victim of that. And all it did was cause very much bitterness for my dad because he believed his dad was not looking for him, and his dad was looking for him. And he had his dad's last name, but his mother wouldn't tell him really nothing about his dad. And he didn't find his father until he was in his 30s. And his mother wouldn't tell him. His mother lied, gave a scenario of he was horrible, he was this, he was that, he was this, he was that. And that wasn't true. And when my dad found out that his mother had lied for whatever reason, he stopped having a relationship with her. What he did was, for the time that he missed being with his father, he made up for the rest of his life and left his mother alone. She didn't calculate that part. So my question is, if anybody has an answer that makes sense other than pride, ego, and cover up, why do you not tell these children? If you don't give them the name, why don't you tell these children who their father is? That's important. If he's a full-blown fool, let them discover that. Especially once you get past the point where they're adults and they can start handling stuff and they're living out their life. They need to know what avenue they go down. Thank God for Ancestry.com. Even in my own family, another story. One of my relatives was in the Korean War, went over there and had a baby. Ancestries.com, boom, bam, here we go. We got a cousin that's half Korean. And this man came back from Korea, lived his life, didn't have no kids, but got a son. And guess what? He looks just like the rest of us. That side of that family, he got certain features, and DNA has proven he is a cousin. But he's in his 50s. Grown people trying to connect, trying to reestablish where they come from. And it makes no difference how bad it is. They want to know. So that's why I'm saying good, bad, and ugly. Good, my friend T found out. Bad, that she doesn't know what kind of relationship she can have with this information. And ugly is now she has to make up in her mind at some point, confronting her mom with the information to give her mom one more chance to tell the truth. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to try to keep the lie going. And you're going to be crushed by science. We ain't talking about somebody told somebody. She has DNA pointed her in the right direction, other brothers and sisters. And when the pictures, you can see it in their eyes. They have different mothers, but they got all the same father. I can tell you another story. A young lady was very promiscuous growing up. I mean, she's in her 20s, early, late 20s, whatever. She had a child. She gave the child her name. But she had the child, she was messing with some guy at work. So she decided, and at that time, I was ignorant to the fact it could be anything different. I figured that she knew who she was having sex with, and we were talking about child support, and she needed some money. And she said it was a middle child, And it was like, go get child support. He the daddy. She went and did the information, did the blood test. You think about this. This man is married, have a family, going on with his life, and was married then, I guess, when he's fooling around with her. Here comes the information to the door from the state. Here comes the request by the court to come in and take a blood test. And guess what happened? When he took the blood test, after being exposed, his family's upset. His wife is going to divorce him because he got this baby. The baby wasn't his. She was that promiscuous that she doesn't know who the father of her child is. And brought this man, exposing this man after all them years, to a situation he was fooling around with her. So I guess that's just that. There are natural repercussions of our actions. And what I'm saying to you is some stuff can be prevented. And maybe it happens when we're so young and we're trying to portray something that we're not, or maybe we're trying to come somebody that we're not. But at some point, you should be comfortable enough in your skin to tell your children the truth, where they come from, who's their father. 9 times out of 10, they already know who their mother is. And we got situations where people are adopted. Okay, that we're not talking about that. We're talking about the purposeful hiding of an identity of your children, and they're longing to know where they came from when they get grown and have children. Think about your child coming up to you asking you, Mom, I know Grandma. Do you know your dad? And you in your 30s or 40s. And you say, no, I don't know your dad. I don't know my dad. But they know their dad. They know their dad is X, Y, and Z. But you don't know your dad. So now they're missing out on a grandfather that they should know, at least know. We're not talking about the quality of the relationship. We talk at least should know. Everyone should know where they come from. Most women who try to hide that thing by naming their kids all the same last name, think about this. If you done had sex with 3 or 4 guys and had these 3, 4, 5 babies, and you all give the last name, you're not covering up anything. Because think about it. All of them know that you done had sex with other men. So what are you trying to preserve? And then you'll say something like, why want all my kids to not feel some kind of way about your behavior? They'll figure it out unless you're going to tell them they all got the same daddy and they don't. See, now you got to make a choice whether to get the child support that's due from each father, or just go out and do it by yourself and pretend like the father was one man and never existed, or go after the one man and then try to somehow convince him to pay for the other 2 or 3. That happens all the time. Yes, there's deadbeat dads, and they should be flogged and punished. But also there's these scandalous women, and they should be dealt with too. So if you're sitting out there and you got a 40-year-old child, 30-year-old child, 20-year-old child, whatever you think their intelligence level is, their maturity level, and they don't know who their father is, you need to tell them. You need to suck it up. You get first choice to tell the story the way you want to tell it. So you can tell the truth about the situation or lie. Maybe some of the behavior that they have is some of the behavior that you have, and you wonder why they so promiscuous because you were. You won't tell them that. You in church now. You looked at being respectable, but there's that cover up that's going to eventually become uncovered. And it's not the fact that you did what everybody else has done, what majority of people has done. It's not that you made a child out of wedlock that's a problem. It's the problem you tried to cover it up and pretend as if it's not what it is. And these adult children are hurting. Now you go back to my family. My grandmother died alone. My dad didn't even go to her funeral. Her urn is sitting right over there in my house. One of the stories about my dad that was interesting was when I looked at the urn. I must let you figure it out. My dad was born January 19, 1929. January 19th, 1929. I was sitting here looking at the urn one day and just happened to look at it, never really paid no attention to it. And I looked at the date plate. My grandmother was born in 1919. I forget her birth date. Add it up. 1929, 1929, 1919. The story right there is a story. She was a child, having a child. From what I understand, my grandfather was 14. We could draw all kinds of scenarios from that. She moved away, dropped my dad off in St. Louis. She moved to California. And they could never really get along because guess what? They were more like sister and brother than mother and son. But my dad loved his mom. And my dad kept asking about his father. I don't make the story short. God brought them together in a weird kind of way where he met his uncle, they met his father. It's like this. There's somebody across the room in this ballroom that looks like you, just a little older. And guess who it was? His father. My dad was married with children, and the rest is history. He had his last name, but he never met him. So at least my grandmother did that. But everybody should get a chance to know their father. I know this society that we live in, we have marginalized fatherhood. But what have we gotten for that? What have we gotten for the breaking of the family, the true family, God's family, the way God said it should be? See, people think, oh, well, we did it that way. No, we didn't. We've been not doing it that way since the split up, since Adam and Eve. We've been rebellious against God's order since Adam and Eve. And now it's reaching to the point where you got grown children who are longing to know where they came from, and you still want to cover up because of your ego. You're a mother in the church now. You're 60 years old. You don't want them to even think that you was living like that. But if we truly are children of God, we understand God can forgive anything. And truly God can forgive that. Because supposedly, even Jesus Christ himself was born out of wedlock. So this Friday review is really trying to help my friend process all this. She's excited. She's mad. She's angry. She's hurt. All this running around when we could have dealt with this 25 years ago, 30 years ago, with the truth. This is who your father is. This is the conditions in which we got together. And I'm going to point you and help you find him so you can know who he is. Because there's a gap in her life. And we're not going to even talk about the abuse that she went through. Some of you heard it on her show with her husband. But we're not going to talk about the psychological abuse of being the child that's not wanted. And even to this day, she don't understand why she's not fully accepted, but there is a reason. So again, I don't have no relationship with her mom or her stepdad. But all I know is it would be better if you watching me, sit down with her and tell her the truth. She already knows. The DNA is already in. But this is a time you may have one more shot at this. But you may not want her in your life no way. So you're going to get what you want. But it doesn't. Why does it have to be like that, y'all? Why does it have to be like that? Me and my ex-wife, we broke up. My kids were young, but I love my kids. I love them. I did all that I could as a divorced parent. But I let my mother say, make sure them children smell you and know who you are. And I did. Yes, we went through our rocky period, but I stayed in front of my children. I did the child support. I did all of it. So that's why I don't have no, how you want to say it? No love for men that don't pay child support, because I paid it. My brother loves his children. Okay. You need to know who your children, your father is. Even in my own life, my brother had a child that nobody else knew about until after my mother and father start getting sick and dying. And here comes forth a child that both of them decided to keep secret. And the girl's daddy that raised her passed. And then can you imagine you being told, oh, by the way, the daddy that died is not your daddy. Here's your daddy. He's still alive. And you 18 years old, 16 years old. You grew up with this one man being your daddy. And he was the daddy. He did do what daddies do. But then the other children lost a father. You lost a father, but then you gained a father. My question is, why did the mother not tell you? And now that relationship begins, but it never had a good start because the gaps had to be filled in. And to this day, my niece, who I love, who's out here, her and her dad don't have a relationship. It went back to where it was. All because somebody didn't want to tell the truth. And whatever they say, the reason was it's not good enough. I don't care if your daddy was Jeffrey Dahmer, the axe murderer, Chucky. They need to know. And you tell them they was an axe murderer, Chucky, Jeffrey Dahmer. But don't not tell them. Ever. Because the way she's finding out is hurting her. Because she can't figure out a reason why you had to lie that way. And then bring your husband that you married in and have him lie for you too. We are so selfish as human beings. That's why you need Jesus. It ain't about living your best life now. It's like living your best life as a human being in a community of other human beings and being truthful and honest and loving one another. I had to grow into that. We have all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. But the one thing that we can do, we can start anew. And if you're hearing this message, if you've done this to your children, God has graced you today because now you have a choice because you've been exposed and told. You can make a difference in it today, but you got to make that difference. It's going to be tough. It's going to be good, bad, and ugly, but you can clean the slate and ask God to forgive you for what you've done out of your selfishness. You know, all sin is the root of all sin is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. However, it manifests in its fruits are many, but those three. And Jesus died for that purpose. He didn't die to put a car in your driveway. He didn't die that you be healed from your sickness of ailments of the death that was caused by Adam, because you're going to die. He died for one purpose. By his stripes, we have been healed from sin, meaning that we step into an eternal relationship with the true and living God, the Creator. And he is God enough to forgive you. And let me tell you what else is God enough. When you have two people searching for God and looking in the right place and not looking for witchcraft, God can bring reconciliation to anything because he's a creator God and he's a God of love. But until truth comes out, the love that you think is there, that you're hiding, you're saying you did it because you love somebody, you never tell it. You know, let's be honest. You can't get love out of a lie. That's what you call a cover up. So now she has to go forward. She has to make up her mind strategically how she's going to deal with this. Is she going to deal with this like a bull in a china cabinet and just confront her mother and father, stepfather? Or is she going to, when she go see the brother that she has, is the father going to come? Is he going to ever acknowledge her? Because the situation with my cousin, the 50-year-old, his father still don't acknowledge him, and the DNA already says he is. That's the imagine that. You find out empirical truth, and the person who could set it straight just by saying yes will not do it because they're still trying to cover up and don't want to have nothing to do with you. She got to face all of that. All that's all part of the equation. All because one person wouldn't tell the truth. It's one thing to be told the truth and then she find out her dad don't want to have nothing to do with her. That's one thing. But at least she can say her mama told me the truth. But she got to do with the lie of mom and possible rejection of the father and actually be rejected by the mom in the lie. It's too much. All to preserve what we believe that we are, that we truly are not. In my flesh, there's no good thing. And in your flesh, there's no good thing. So you can say all the words of affirmation that you want to say about yourself. If you haven't come to the truth, you a liar and the truth ain't in you. You can go to church all you want to. That can't cover up the blackness of your heart. Men prefer darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. I don't care how many huckabucka tongue-speaking prophets you go to that lie to you and tell you how great you are until you tell the truth about your ugly past. And I had to deal with that. So you ain't talking about something that I haven't dealt with. But until you tell the truth, you can't be set free. So you can go to church, put a mask on, and put 30 years of being in church on top of your lie. And until that truth is told, you are still under bondage and you ain't saved. Because you ain't trusted God with that lie that you've been telling. So you hadn't even repented from that one thing. And it could be as simple as telling your child who their daddy is. How you gonna deny your children their daddy when Jesus is supposed to be our daddy? He never leave us or forsake us. So why not give that father an opportunity? Yeah, he may be the worst person on the planet, but let her or him find that out. Don't you paint no picture to try to set yourself up to be the savior. So this is kind of long today. I didn't plan to go this long. Tonight, 12 o'clock. We might talk about this again with T. T may want to talk about this as far as the witchcraft. She sees a connection with witchcraft and Kundalini and all this. And we'll see how that leads. But come back tonight. Check us out, 12 o'clock, God's Gift Through His Word, Walking Truth Radio Network, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff. And, I always want you to be encouraged, blessed, and in peace. And always remember walking the truth of the Lord. But please, ladies, let these kids know who their real daddy is. And gentlemen, when you make these children, take care of them. Society says they don't need you, but look at society. Yes, they do. This is Pastor J. Peace. I'll see you on the other side.